Parents in prison. Does it punish the children they leave behind?
Dear Diary, I have just been thinking about the things I've been missing out on, such as mother-to-daughter talks. You know the sort, about growing up and all. I've always wanted to go on a big family holiday, even if it were just to Ireland. I'd also love to go camping or stay in a lodge by a big lake in a forest. But I feel that at a certain age, you get too old to enjoy these things, and I don't want to reach that age without my mum.
Alex, which is not her real name, writes in her diary about how she misses her mum. That's because a year ago, Alex's mum was arrested by the police and she's been in prison ever since. Now, Alex only gets to visit her mum once or twice a month. She's one of over 125,000 children in Britain whose mum or dad is under lock and key.
The worst thing about my mum being in prison is the things that we can't do together, like go shopping, go swimming together or go to the cinema. Normal things, you could call them.
10 years ago, in 1989, there were just under 55,000 prisoners across the UK. That figure's gone up, and it now stands at over 70,000. Many of them are parents. More children than ever before are growing up with a mum or dad in jail. Campaigners say sending more people to prison isn't always the answer.
When a court is thinking about sending a man or woman to prison, I think they ought to consider the children as well. So that if somebody has committed an offence, has done something wrong, but it's not that serious, but they've got children, then perhaps we should find some way of dealing with that person at home in the community and not send them to prison at all.
Lily and Charlotte live in London. We've changed their names to protect their identities. Their dad has been in prison for almost 2 years. Most prisoners' children are allowed to visit their parents, usually twice a month.
What's it like when you arrive at the prison? How does it feel and what happens?
We have to get searched. We have to take off our coats, cardigan, watches. And then they make you lift up your feet to see if you've got anything in your socks or anything. We have to walk into another part, and then there's my dad. We get to see him for 2 hours, but if we're lucky, on a Sunday, we get an hour more.
What are you going to do?
The prison officers, they're sort of watching you. As soon as I go over to my dad and give him a kiss, they want to see every move that you make and the way you sort of communicate with him. After a few visits, you get used to it, but it's not very nice.
We went to find out what the government had to say.
Are you satisfied by the visiting rights at the moment of children?
No, I'm not satisfied at the moment. It's a very difficult question. It's always going to be a terrible experience for a child to see someone they love in custody. But prisons are not pleasant places. Well, they're not meant to be pleasant places. And I think it's very important that we get the governors and the prison staff always to say to themselves, how can we improve the arrangements for children?
How do you feel directly after the visit?
As soon as we come out after saying goodbye, it seems as if we haven't had long enough to be with each other. You think, if only we could have had half an hour more, we could have crammed in what we wanted to say.
Between prison visits, Lily and Charlotte look forward to hearing news from their father.
When we get letters from my dad, we're all excited and we're rushing to open the letter.
Oh yes, a letter from Dad!
Things are like most that he writes in the letter are things like he's missing me and how much he loves us. I always feel excited because the things he puts inside are the fact that he can still remember our house and the garden and our dogs, and he can always make me feel as if he's talking to me and that he's directly with me.